Another letter. Just wanted to drop a line and thank you for your position on Senate Bill 1646. It was rather refreshing to hear the voice of reason in the Senate chamber. As a parent of a trans child, I am one of those who will be forced to leave the state if 1646 passes. The government has no place intervening in medical decisions of private individuals and their expert physicians. I've sacrificed a great deal to make sure that my child has a broad, affirming environment, and for people who have a moral objection and no experience in trans issues to interfere, that I or any other parent am a child abuser is infuriating. Short story long, I hugely appreciate your work and your words. It is a shame that Texas Republicans have zero interest in listening to their constituents. And last, because this is a spiritual group, Senator Lucio was quoting scriptures yesterday, a very significant talk about his teaching, following the Bible, but then was going to vote no against the bill. Let me read to this family. My name is Wes Carlin. I'm a 41-year-old father of 4. I'm writing to thank you for what you said yesterday, and I'm also writing to share my family story. I was born in a small Kansas town and raised up in a Christian home. We did not attend church every Sunday, but we knew who God was, who He loves us. I was raised up, the straight was straight, and gays were locked and looked down upon. During my school years, I was one who was quick to point out in the so-called queer, as we called them, and to turn the other direction. Me and my friends told jokes, swinging on the wrong side of the fence, and statements that God doesn't make mistakes, or a boy is a boy and you can't change that. Through my young adulthood, I carried those beliefs with me. Though the poking fun slowed down as I matured and got older, my thoughts towards the LGBTQ community was the same, and I stood my ground in that argument. I believe God made a male and female, and that was it. I wish I knew then what I know now. 2009, my first son was born. The father, I was so proud to have a boy who I could raise to play baseball, take to the golf course, share the first beer at his legal age, of course, and later in life, just sit around and talk about all the things men talk about. We brought him home from the hospital in a baseball uniform. I knew he was going to be an all-star someday, hitting home runs, stealing bases, and someday steal a little girl's heart. About a year after he was born, I noticed something different. He had more trucks, sports balls, baseball bats, army men, and every other toy he could dream of. But all he wanted was to brush his hair and watch Mommy get ready in the mornings. At his daycare clinic, he only gravitated to the girls. He never wanted to play with the boys. I mentioned this to buddies, and they all gave the same advice. He'll grow out of it. Take him to the ballpark. Go play golf with him. Or best, you're overreacting. Just let him be a kid. I prayed every night that my son would snap out of it and do the things typical boys did. Put him in baseball and at an early age to try to help. It only made things worse. Next, he tried soccer and had no success. As he got older, we would punish him for looking at or playing with girls' toys. They'd punish him for looking at girls' toys. On his games, he would always play the girl character. He never wanted anything for his birthday, Christmas, or even just random gifts. It was always, I don't want anything. So we would buy him more boys-related toys that just sat in the closet, untouched, with hundreds of other toys and gadgets that most little boys dream of. At the early age of 5, we noticed our son was miserable. He could never find his place and was angry and frustrated all the time. We took him to counselors, doctors, and even preachers all over the Metroplex. They said he may have gender dysphoria. Eventually grew out of it. No one would lay a claim to what they saw. One even said, just love your child and don't worry about it. Meantime, we were searching for answers in order to help. We went through the process of looking for answers for years until we finally realized something. We were searching for a solution to change our daughter, whom we thought was our son. We needed to be reaching out for guidance in dealing with the challenge we face as the parents of a transgender child. By the time we realized that was truly going on, what was really going on in our daughter was now 9 years old. 9 years is a long time of being neglected, unaccepted, or like a total reject. It can take a toll on anyone, especially a child. The pain we put her through in the early years of life are irreversible. We only pray that she can continue to grow and feel acceptable. She is now 12, colleagues. Although we still have struggles, her attitude, drive, and motivation has improved greatly. Sure, it's not where we would like, but the improvement speaks loudly compared to the angry child we had years prior. Earlier this year, we started her in the transgender care program. Knowing she has the support and knowing that there are more like her out there only boosts her confidence that much more. She is a completely changed child. One is happy, one who knows what she wants. She is now a child with purpose. She brings me to this, which you have heard several times by now. Banning the treatment to these kids. This is what we're fixing to vote on. Banning the treatment to these kids is detrimental to them. Children will die. The hardships they face are far greater than anyone can imagine without living through them firsthand. Their lives are in your hands. I'm not a statistician, but I know the suicide rate for transgender children who are not accepted are far greater than any other child. It is up to you as leaders of our community to determine their fate. I know what many in the legislature are thinking. I was there. Truthfully, if I did not live it, I would still be there, which is why I'm sharing my story. I pray you see the difference in what people think transgender is versus reality. I will debate this until my dying day. I will, in support of my daughter. Ban is based on claims of child abuse. What is worse, helping your child through a socially born deficiency or rejecting them for who they are? Passing this law rejects not only my child, but hundreds of others in this country. Now the world outcasts her, and Texas has the power to change that. I'm asking those who voted for this bill to hold a Christian value, help through a life of struggle in a world of hate and hostility. Banning transgender cares not only rejects my child and others like her, but it gives the world another reason to justify their hate and hostility towards all those in the transgender community. Hate that our government should be helping to drive out. The mere fact that banning this care is even a possibility shows the ignorance to the situation and the lack of willingness to understand and truly help those in need. I beg those senators who voted for this bill to change their thoughts. I beg them to reject the ban on transgender care. I beg you to help our family and help my daughter live the best life she can in the world she was born into. Really, Wes Carlin. Members, I had other letters, but that's testimony from these families that say that we're fixing, if this bill is allowed to pass, to do irreparable harm and even leading to suicide of young people. They believe in the same God and pray to the same God that we pray to each day as we begin our session. I think that you will see transgender families and children in heaven if you're fortunate enough to be there, because they worship the same God that we worship. And I think that's very significant. In closing, let me give hope to those transgender families. One, families and their friends, we've got a lot of education to do. It is a community that needs to inform their friends, neighbors, co-workers, and their elected official as to what their life experiences are. To those families, also, I would say, don't give up hope, because I personally think the courts will ultimately deal with this. You've arbitrarily put an 18-year age threshold there. Hell, you can be tried as an adult at 17. Join the Army. A lot of things you could do. And I think the due process of receiving medical attention, the freedom that you have a right to expect in our country will be debated by our courts, maybe all the way to the Supreme Court. And also, one of my purposes today is to draw attention to this bill, and hopefully the Texas House will consider the gravity of what we're doing. They'll look at the experts, the real experts, the medical, educated field that think we should allow the treatment at the age that the parents, the medical field, their spiritual advisors think is most appropriate. Thank you for allowing me to represent Texans. And Senator Perry, I hope, as I challenged you last week, we'll continue to discuss this topic, educate ourselves, meet with the families, the medical field, and I just will say a prayer that this bill does not become law, because these are not fads. These are not made-up names. These are real, live Texans with a soul, a heart, a brain. They pray to the same God that you and I do. And I think the House should take the matter as a serious matter as we have in this body. Thank you, Mr. President.